let me get first. I'm Jim Rogers, and I'm the project manager for Caltrans for the Highway 50 HOV and Rehab project. I spoke to you guys, I think, about 10 months ago or so, back when we could have in-person meetings. So since then, we've awarded and executed a contract with Flatiron Construction to do the work and be in charge of the design build project. And today I have Robert Farouche, who's the project manager for the contractor, and Pat Fagan, who is the construction manager for the contractor, even though his name still says Deborah. But since she's the one that sent us the invite, we had to, we all got her name. But anyway, so Robert's got a little PowerPoint and to talk about the project and what's going to be happening, and then we can answer questions after that. Oh, excuse me, in just a second. And we also have Angela DePrado, who is with our public information office on and listening into the meeting tonight. So we'll let Robert do his thing, and then we'll see if Angela has any comments after that. So.
Okay, yeah. Hi, my name is Robert Farouche. Like you said, I'm with Flatiron. We have been looking at this project for more than a year, and we are excited to be the selected contractor, and we're excited to meet you and kind of move into the neighborhood. So as it might be, it's going to be overall about a 3.5-year, 4-year construction project overall. And I believe that the question was asked, what will the sound walls look like? So that's kind of what I've prepared a few of the exhibits today to talk about. So I'm just going to, host disabled participant screen sharing. Can someone enable me to maybe share my presentation?
Just 1 second. So I'm going to make you a co-host, and then I think that's going to allow you to share your screen.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, yeah, this is a design build project, the whole US 50 rehabilitation, and the sound wall elements are ones that I think Flatiron will design them structurally. We have, our design firm is WSP, but as far as the sound wall aesthetics of what you're going to see here, we have been given some of that from our contract with Caltrans and their specifications. I'm sure you're all aware that, this first slide is just showing overall our project limits. It's from I-5 and 50, and all the way down 50 to just a little, pavement gets replaced to Watt, and then we restripe past Watt, like you can see here. So the limits of the sound walls, as I'm sure all of you are well aware, is from about Stockton Boulevard on-ramp, eastbound 50 to the 65th Street off-ramp. So just to kind of zoom in on that a little bit, and forgive me, I'm sure from the public process that was done in the environmental phase, a lot of maybe a lot of this, but forgive me for maybe repeating some things that maybe you already know. So
always.
The sound walls, as they go along here, are you familiar with any of the numbering that they're given, or is it just sound walls to you? So basically, it starts, you can see different colors along the eastbound freeway here. Blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. Each wall is given a number. So this starts with sound wall 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That's how we distinguish them one from the other. So just kind of overview of them, you know, like for instance, wall 12 is from 42nd to 45th Street, approximately. So we've got, the walls are either about, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 or 2,600 feet long, and they're all about, you know, 10, 12, 14 feet tall. Just wanted to, I mean, this is pretty typical of, you know, many sound walls that are built along a state right-of-way. They're going to be masonry block walls. And just in case, you know, some of you aren't familiar with the different foundation systems that go underneath these walls, in this first typical section here, this is probably a section like, here's an existing curb and an existing fence. And so this would be kind of like along some of the areas of F Street, right? And then there will be some sort of paved surface between where that fence was and the new sound wall. And then just to show underneath, some of these sound walls have a concrete pile cap that's, you know, linear, and then there'll be cast and drilled hole piles maybe every 3, 4, 5, 6 feet, depending on how tall the wall is at that location. So there's these type of foundations get installed by a basically a drill rig comes in and augers out the soil. We place a rebar cage and pour concrete, and then we have a rebar cage that along the length of the wall for this pile cap foundation, then we build the wall on top of it. There's other types of walls that are on pile, but these would be more like, let's say along the Stockton on-ramp if this was Stockton on-ramp on the left side, and there's a barrier rail that the wall sits on. You've seen these around a lot, I'm sure, as you drive on the highway. And then there's other types that are like a spread footing, and these would maybe more between, maybe if any of you have these sound walls going kind of adjacent to your property line or something like that, but there'll be foundations like this as well. Just wanted to let you kind of see what some of them look like below ground, because that's the part that we'll see, you know, as we install them. So that footing in this wall profile here, the footing is below the grade, and OG means original ground, FG means finished ground or finished grade, and so the wall will stick up from there. It's basically letting you know that there's a foundation underneath. So just wanted to put it a little bit into perspective about that we have along the shoulder of US 50, there will be a retaining wall. And so it's say down here, and that's what we're using to widen out the highway and place the additional HOV lane. And then up the slope from there is where we will be installing, you know, some of these sound walls will be right on the shoulder, and some will work their way up the slope, and then some will be up at the top of the slope. Just a kind of a typical section view. So as far as the aesthetics of these are the parts that the Caltrans landscape architecture folks have provided to us. So I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the walls, starting with wall 11. The aesthetic is this, what they call a teardrop pattern on the gray walls, and it's matching an existing wall. And then it transitions into wall 12 here, which, you know, wall 12 is kind of between 42nd and 45th Streets. It transitions into this, what's called a rustic brown. So these masonry blocks are split face, and meaning, I'm sure everyone's seen that, right? Like where they split the face and it's just kind of wavy. And then on the top of the wall is a smooth face. This lighter colored brown is a smooth face. It's just a change in texture. I think it's all this a singular brown, but it looks different on different textures. And there's some accent colorings that have been placed for that transition. That is happening. So walls 11 and 12, 11 the gray, 12 transition into this rustic brown. what we're looking at here is on the freeway side. So the brown has this accent color as you drive along the freeway, and the rustic brown is on the neighborhood sides of all these walls, from walls 13, 14, 15, and 16, all the way down the rest of the neighborhood. And so that, for instance, so all the walls on the neighborhood side are rustic brown, and the walls 13 and 14 here on the freeway side are also rustic brown, like we see here. So that's walls 13 and 14, you know, from 45th to 51st Streets, just referencing some of your neighborhood streets there. Walls 15 and 16 start to have what Caltrans is calling a mosaic color pattern. And on the freeway side, and again on the neighborhood sides, are that rustic brown as well. Was that a question?
Well, I just asked the guy, the organizer, to send me the link again to your email.
Okay. Move along.
Okay, and so 15 and 16 gets all the way down to 65th Street. And we also have plasma cut stainless and weathered steel figures that are mounted along the wall. I believe there's 9 sets of these pairs of 3 along the wall as you go along. Does someone want to?
Yeah, can you mute them?
Okay, so as we look at what this neighborhood side looks like, the rustic brown, it's going to have these steel plasma figures on them, and these are trees. And on the freeway side is where the bear and the oak leaves go. And so these are kind of renderings that we recently put together just for this meeting to show what those might look like in perspective as you're driving along the freeway through the freeway side of the neighborhood there. And then again, this is the neighborhood side artwork. This is the freeway side artwork. And then these are just kind of a zoomed up version of what this detail looks like of the neighborhood side. Tree steel panels, and then on the freeway side, what the bear looks like and the oak leaves. And that was hopefully answers what the walls will look like.
Do you want to take questions now, or do you? I have a couple questions.
They're going to build it pretty much. The wall's going to start.
Sure. Jim, did you want to maybe say anything more first, or do you want to do questions?
Manuel, can you mute the caller, because I'm not sure that they're actually talking in the meeting. Thanks.
Unmute myself. Yeah, you guys, some of you know that the Caltrans has been, pursuing this project for a long time, and there's been some community meetings and a lot of environmental process that went through. And so our landscape architecture folks have been involved, and these were the designs that they kind of came up with for this area. So hopefully, this looks good at this point to you guys, but yeah, we can entertain some questions about this if you would like.
Well, I had a couple questions. One is, there's obviously some variance in the height of the wall. Why is that? And some of them are not even specified. I mean, you go from 15 feet to 10 feet. That's one question. Can you also clarify, are they repaving all of 50? That's my second question. And my third question is, can you just explain the dynamics of the sound wall? I mean, I look at this picture, the freeway is already fairly low down, and it looks like the sound wall is pretty tiny. How is that going to impact the sound? So I have those 3 questions. Thank you.
Okay, so.
And actually, as you answer those questions, I'm going to just ask folks that are in the call that if you do want to ask a question, please raise your hand or type in that you want to ask a question in the chat box so that I can unmute you and then we can recognize you. Thank you.
So the first one, the reason the heights vary is just because the terrain varies. You know, we start down at ground level, at roadway level at Stockton, and then go up along the top of the slope and then back down as along the highway. So the height is varying just as the ground is varying. And then yes, all of Highway 50 is going to be reconstructed from I-5 out to Watt Avenue. All of the pavement's going to be removed and replaced. So, and then as far as the sound wall, how it works, it just, you know, it's primarily a line of sight between the houses and the highway, which is generating the noise. So that was all done in the preliminary stages where they did noise studies and they set up microphones all over the neighborhood, and that's where what they came up with. So.
Yeah, it might help to also say about the varying heights. So that what we're given based on the noise studies, I'm trying to go back to one of these drawings here. Here we go. What we're given is the top of the wall elevation, more or less, that was derived from the noise studies. And then you can see as foundation steps happen, like Jim was explaining with the terrain, sometimes the top of the wall will step up as with it, and sometimes that'll generate a taller wall in that area where we're stepping. So, like for instance here, as the terrain is going up in the back, but the foundation is staying level, so the actual H height on the wall, the masonry part of the wall, is getting higher just because the ground is going up behind the footing. So what's given though from the noise studies is the top of the wall height to facilitate the noise wall effect.
Thank you. I see a question from Sara Peña. So I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Robert, for the presentation. Do you have start dates? I'm particularly interested in Sound Wall 15.
Yeah, so we're designing the structure parts of these walls, and our goal is to have our design approved by Caltrans by the end of this year. What that'll mean for construction though, and start dates in the field though, is there will be time this fall when we're starting to do some of the clear and grub and removal work to prepare for that, and also some utility relocation work that will be happening this fall just to prepare the way for these sound walls. If there's, as we're doing some potholing and checking, verifying that we can work around some of those utilities. If everything lines up though, it should be that the wall construction happens right around the first of the year. Pat, I didn't know if you had any other thing else to add about Pat. Pat is our construction manager, and he's joined the call with us as well.
Thank you, that's helpful. Is it all happening at the same time, or are you starting at one end or the other?
Yeah, maybe Pat, you could briefly speak about that.
Yeah, so as Robert said, obviously it's still in design, but generally, Wall 11 starts out by Stockton Boulevard. So we'll be working generally out there towards, I think it's 39th Avenue, and then working east from there, just generally behind the houses, and then there's a couple of areas where it gets, fairly tight. I think around Sound Wall 15, where the surface streets aren't contiguous. So we'll be working, you'll see us working, probably eastwards, and then we're like what we call a two block. We only have like one way in and one way out. Then we would work outwards in those locations. So the net effect would be, we're generally working across the corridor with drilling crews, concrete crews, forming footings, putting rebar in, pouring the footings, and then finally installing the masonry block in its various phases. and lifts across the alignment. Generally, all told, it probably take 9 months to a year to construct all the walls.
So I will add that the schedule that we're working on now is being developed as the different foundation types get identified. So as far as the exact sequence and how we go about them will depend on how easy that access is to obtain, and like I mentioned, where the utilities protections might need to be, and if we have 2 or 3 different foundation types, they'll be worked on depending on what crews we have available, like not available, but in order. So if one wall has a spread footing type, then it can be worked on at the same time as the other wall that has a drilled foundation footing type. So we'll be working at multiple places along this corridor.
Thanks, that was super helpful. So it sounds like from what Pat said, we could probably expect by the end of 2021 to have the wall done. Is that an accurate guesstimate?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm checking the chat box. We have a request from Mr. Adam Holguin. He's asking if you can share a P6 schedule with the ENA for distribution.
We're working on that schedule now, and I believe we should have it approved in September, and we can talk to Caltrans about, parts of that, how it gets released to applicable places. I think what we could probably do, if we're looking at these walls in particular, because the whole schedule is quite large, but we could come back and present kind of more details about our schedule after we've finalized it. Because there will come a time when we need to start coordinating, access to exact properties and, being on exact streets and closing some of the shoulders down to do some of the removals. So that will be coming, and we'll have more detailed schedule information for all those steps.
And Adam, if you want to ask your next question, you can unmute yourself and ask your follow-up question.
Hello, this is Adam Holguin. Thanks a lot for the information. You guys this is very helpful. Just wondering, when are the hours of construction per the EIR report that are acceptable for the construction of the sound wall?
I might have to get back to you on that one, because I haven't heard that explicitly in our planning yet. Do you happen to be aware at all?
I am not. I haven't reviewed the EIR and that specifics, but I was just a question of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure, but I don't remember any restrictions on when the sound wall could be constructed in the environmental impact report. So,
and Maggie, I think you had a follow-up question too. So sorry, Maggie's question that I see is she's clarifying that the wall will be done first and then the repavement on 50.
Yes, that's what I was about to add to that. Our response about the work hours is that, yes, the wall is the first order of work, and that is meant to, mitigate the noise during construction period for the rest of the pavement rehabilitation work, particularly the latter parts of that. What was the next part of the question?
Well, the other part is, clearly the city has restrictions about sounds. I'm a little surprised that, I don't know what time stuff can start work in the morning, 7 or 8. And then, I mean, there are restrictions about noise, and we've just had an issue with UC Davis. So I think it'd be really helpful for neighbors to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the city work is daytime hours. I think we had our drilling subcontractors out, or they still are out on some of these neighborhood streets doing some work under the city permits in the daytime. And the primary work to install these sound walls is pretty low decibel level in terms of, augers in the ground and placing rebar by hand and pumping concrete, and then stacking the blocks up. So the noise level of building these walls is not anything above what would be happening on normal city streets around the city for roadway construction.
And Robert, if I can interject, this is Angela from Caltrans, the Public Information Officer. I think if there are any times where we may need to do some work at nighttime and it may extend longer than, say, for example, 11 o'clock or even past 10:30, we'll warn the motorist. We'll warn the homeowners regarding that. And I want to say motorists because I'm so used to referring to our public outreach for motorists. I apologize. But we'll do outreach to the public. And if the best way to get information regarding that is if you sign up for the Fix 50 newsletter that we will be circulating. And it's not necessarily a newsletter like saying, hey, this is, mundane stuff. This is a newsletter that will give you the, hey, this week we're going to be doing this type of work, and very short and sweet, not something very lengthy that we're anticipating on sending out. And you may know our partners is Sagent. So if you see an email from Sagent that is actually representing Caltrans, generally they'll represent themselves as an entity of Caltrans, but you might see a Sagent email, and it's not spam. It's actually regarding the project.
Thank you. We have one more question from Aileen Mann. If you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
So in some areas along S Street, there's the highway embankment appears 6 to 8 feet higher than the S Street level. Will the sound walls be on top of that embankment, or will the embankment be lowered for an equivalent sound wall height above street level?
So it varies. A lot of the typical sections that I've seen are that it's at the bottom of that embankment, and we probably need to look at something together to make sure we're both talking about the right or the same thing. But it generally is at the street. Sorry, the bottom of the wall at the street level, say right off the street level. But then it does kind of, in some places, transition from the street to up and over down toward the freeway. So it does vary.
Thank you. If there's any final questions, please type them in now or raise your hand. If not, I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Manuel, I had one more. This is Maggie. I really appreciate that you guys did this presentation. I do want to stress that the construction noise from the wall, we understand freeway construction goes on at all hours, but I think it would be our neighborhood's expectation that the wall construction, which is really going to impact the neighborhood if it's right next to houses, would not take place except during the day. I mean, obviously the freeway, you have to work on it, we understand that, but I think the wall itself that, and I don't know who we need to follow up with, but I think it's going to be pretty critical that not be at night.
And I'll just venture to say that, you know, most of our folks also feel the same way about their work schedule. And we try to keep daytime work as much as possible anyway. Usually we go to nights only when there's some necessity to do so that we would have to work out, because we know we're working on this wall behind a lot of your backyards and whatnot, and right adjacent to a lot of your houses. And that's not any place that we want to be waking folks up unless we absolutely have to. But no, most of these type of work is during the daytime.
Well, thank you again. I think if there are any more questions, we can wrap that on up and we'll go back to our meeting. Really appreciate all you folks that were at this, and Deborah for getting this arranged.
Sorry, this is Adam again. Sorry, I have one last question, just because I'm right next to where the sound wall is going to be built. So I'm really concerned about this. What about dust and vibration? What are the remediation plans for any dust or vibration of the construction of the sound wall?
Yeah. So all of our work is done per the Bay Area air quality, or not. I work a lot of times. I've been working in the Bay Area, but the air quality district there. It's Jim, help me out.
Yeah.
It's Sacramento something air quality district. Yeah, but anyway, we have strict guidelines as far as what we have to do for dust control and working under the various permits that we do work under. In terms of vibration, that would be maybe a concern when we're augering for one of these foundations, and generally only in very close proximity. So we're doing a potholing for any utilities that might be in the area, and those are going to be the things that are of concern to that type of augering. So I'm not sure what type of vibration you might be thinking about for this, but it's not a very large vibration inducing activity.
Thank you. And I see Deborah raised her hand.
Yeah, let's see, can you hear me? Just how do we sign up for this Fix 50 newsletter?
This is Angela from Caltrans. There's actually a couple of ways. The website is going to be Fix50, that's FIX50.com. And you can go ahead and sign up that way, or you guys can go ahead and email me and I'll start setting up the email for when updates come available.
Great, thank you.
No problem. And do you need my email address as well?
That'd be helpful.
Okay, it's Angela, ANGELA, period, DePrato. I'm going to say it once and then spell it. DePrato is DAPRATO. That's D as in dog, A as in apple, P as in Peter, R as in rabbit, A as in apple, T as in Tom, O as in octopus, at DOT.CA.gov.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that the website isn't quite up and running yet. It will be in a couple of months when construction's starting to get ready to kick off. So once Sagen gets that up and running, then there'll be useful information posted on that.
Yeah, and we also have a Facebook account that's going to be dedicated to Fix50WX. That's www.facebook.com/Fix50WX. It's actually active, but we haven't put anything current on there. Then we also will have a Twitter account. So if you want to follow the project that way, it's at Fix50. But the main long title is twitter.com/Fix_50.
Would you mind reminding me who was asking about the vibration and dust?
It's Adam.
Adam, hi Adam. And I just wondered, I mean, we can follow up with more of those specific concerns as we get closer. Maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can get basically your address or something and kind of, you know, look at it a little bit and see, you know, I don't think we're going to have vibration out there, but just want to be able to address some of those concerns a little bit closer for you in the.
Yeah, we can also do it through the ENA. So Adam, I don't know if you want to, Robert, give out your email, or Adam, you can just email the ENA and we'll follow up if you know.
Yeah.
We can connect. Yeah.
I'll make sure to work through the ENA, and just, it's not only for myself, but for other people, like my neighbor, my back neighbor, who's right next to the sound wall. So there's more people.
Maybe it's just something that we can do in a follow-up visit if you invite us back again in a few months or something to
Okay.
talk more specifics about what those operations look like.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you guys again. And if that's okay, and we'll get on to our meeting agenda. I know we have, we were going to have somebody from SAC